Hi, this is Ron Mendte from Microstrat. I have here with me Alex Messenger, and we're going to be discussing our Datavault solution today. So I want to start a little bit by talking about ransomware protection. This is a big topic in data protection today. And the reason we start with this one is that it's a very potent attack within the data center. Unlike a lot of other attacks where you can maybe identify it, eradicate it, it's a virus, it's a leak, it's a denial server, something that you can deal with. Ransomware can get into the environment, live in the environment for quite a long time before you even know it's there, and cause all sorts of destruction. One of the biggest problems with ransomware is it can also impact your disaster recovery and your backups of your data. So not only is your production environment compromised, but then the places you would typically go to go get your data and get back to a healthy place are also in trouble. The other problem is once it's in the environment, it's very hard to get out. So once you have ransomware in the environment, it's not as simple as just cleaning up a virus or adding a new pattern to the environment or closing a hole in a firewall. It really is something that can live with the environment and stay there. And you really have to spend some time figuring out the root cause before you can put your data back, because if you clean out the data that's infected, put your data back, but you don't know how the attackers got in, they can just get back in and reinfect the environment. And there's a lot of solutions on the market that talk about this, but very few protect the broad enterprise. They're very focused on either your virtual machines, or maybe a particular silo of your storage, or maybe a particular cloud vendor. With our solution of Datavault, we're really trying to cover all of those use cases, not just the VM-based systems. The other unique thing about our solution is that it's fully managed by us at Microstrat. It's not done by a third party, and it's not living within your data center. It's a wholly separate environment. So let's take a look at what the architecture looks like. This is an example of a data center to a hosted vault. I'm also going to show a cloud version. This looks very similar. You have your production environment, and within that environment, you have things like your bare metal servers, maybe some mid-range servers like IBM Power, all of your virtual machines. You might have started using containerization. You have databases, file access, whatever that piece is. What we want to do is take that data from the production environment and move it into a high secure environment. So we replicate it over. FCIP in this particular case, but lots of ways to get there depending on what you have running in production. Once the data is in the high security environment, we treat this a bit like a man trap. We close off the door on the left so that the production environment can no longer see the HSA. And at that point, we begin to scan the data that's in there. We're looking for things. We're looking for malware. We're looking for ransomware. We're looking for other things. We're doing some black box things we're not going to be really able to talk about in this call here today. But inside that environment, we're scanning for bad things to occur. If we find the environment's clean, or that the data itself is clean, what we will do is we'll open up the right-hand door into the vault, and we'll make a copy of that data into the vault itself. Now, the vault environment is a sterile environment. It's dark, it's cold, there's nothing running in there. We just want copies of the data. We're just going to crate up the data, put it into the vault, and then close that door on the right-hand side. We'll then reopen replications production. So at no time will production be able to see the vault environment. So if production got compromised, even if it somehow was able to creep into the HSA environment, which we do lots of things to try and prevent, the production environment could never actually access the vault data. So if production gets compromised, your DR gets compromised, whatever it is, the vault stays there so that once the problem has been eradicated, we can open the vault again and bring the data back into the environment for you. In the cloud, this looks very similar. The only difference is that cloud vendors tend to charge a lot if you move data out of their environment. So if I am using Amazon's cloud and I wanted to make copies into a hosted environment like on the prior screen, I could certainly do that. But Amazon's going to charge me a lot of money to bring that data out and move it into an outside environment or into another cloud. So what we typically do is a native HSA and a native vault. So if I'm in Amazon and I'm using Amazon services, I'll build an HSA in Amazon, build a vault in Amazon. Again, totally separate VPCs in that case, separate environments from your production. Do the replication, scan it, and then again, vault it in a separate path. Again, using whatever things that you have, bare metal, some of the cloud providers provide that. Power, some of the cloud providers provide that, but obviously everyone provides virtual machines, containerization, file access, S3 buckets, databases that are native, etc. So all that data does get vaulted in the same way, and very much like on-prem, if something were to happen in production, once we have a clean landing space for the data, we'll rehydrate it and give it back to you. So some of the key attributes, I know we've talked about a couple of these, are our ability to support a broader range of technologies, not just VMs. Our ability to scan the data during ingress, because a lot of solutions will say, look, we'll make copies of your data, we'll encrypt them, we'll keep them safe, but if that data is dirty, then when I bring it back, I've got dirty data coming back. So I want to scan that data as it's coming in. And again, it's built to be in a cold data environment, so it's not accessible by production in any way. The other big thing, and Alex can go through this in quite a bit of detail, is since it's a managed environment, the vault is not using the same identity and access management as production, which means if your credentials get compromised, if your production environment gets compromised, that compromise cannot extend into our vault environment because those credentials, those resources don't have access to the vault environment at any time. So at that point, we're going to be able to keep that very isolated, even if there's a production problem. The one last thing I want to say before handing it over to Alex is that this is not intended to be a replacement for your business as usual. Security is very much a defense in-depth conversation. So you're still going to make backups, you're still going to have DR, you have other things in place in your environment. This again is, if a attack happens and compromises data in your environment, this is a cold copy for us to bring back and have you have access to. So that's the broad scopes of the environment itself. Alex is going to talk quite a bit now about how we manage that environment for you. So Alex?
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it. So I'm going to ahead and advance this to the next slide. So what you see in front of you is an overview of the Datavault solution. This is a genericized version based off of an implementation, one of the implementations that we've done recently. And the Datavault is really a solution that is designed to provide long-term value and long-term return on investment. So with any solution that has those attributes, it really needs proper care and feeding so that it's ready when you need it. And when there is an emergency that you declare and you need the solution to produce that clean data that Ron referred to, quickly, reliably, and in a way that you're expecting, so you can get your operations back up and running as soon as possible and minimize impact to your business operations. So as Ron said, the solution can be tailored to every client's specific needs. So in this case here, we have different sources for what we're protecting in terms of objects, in terms of virtual machines, in terms of on-prem storage. And we're looking at basically a large overview. So we're going to drill into a little bit more detail of each piece of the solution and talk about how MicroStrategies really brings its multi-practice expertise to protecting your data as part of the solution. So we're zoomed in here a little bit on the client production environment. So this is where we touch and interact with our clients' production data the most, typically on a daily basis, sometimes more often, sometimes less often, depending on the business function of the data and how often it changes, how often deltas are produced. So here we see different formats of data to be protected. So we see the objects are referred to, the virtual machines are referred to, and that's stored in a public cloud environment. So this solution basically has two parallel paths that the data is protected. One is from the public cloud, as Ron mentioned, it's more cost effective to keep that data flow within the public cloud. And then we also have, because many environments are hybrid today, and the colo still plays a big role in servicing the IT needs of organizations, we have an on-prem version of the solution that it's tied together. It's still one solution, but we are protecting all of that data that's on-prem, whether it's in Power, whether it's in AIX, whether it's in IBM I, machinery and housings. So this is where we have shared responsibility with our clients, that the clients are putting out deltas for us to ingest into the environment. And sometimes that entails a timed checkpoint. So you'll see a little clock down by the checkpoint 1 in that blue section in the right-hand side. And that means that connection is taken down periodically when the data transfer is not happening. So that helps reduce the security threat, the security surface area of the solution, and helps increase the security. And that's just one of many of the measures that are taken as part of the solution to really provide that military grade defense in depth protection. So we're gonna move on to where most of the magic happens, which is this is what we call the high security environment, sometimes referred to as a high security area. And operating the solution requires managing both infrastructure layers, both cloud-based and physical, and also software and scripting layers. So we go through all the OSI layers from the bare metal to OS to application to scripts that control applications and change configurations. So as managed services operates these solutions, we have to monitor and troubleshoot any activity, activity that's out of the ordinary in the vault. And we have to be able to drill down from the top all the way down to the bare metal. So we have instrumentation, we have monitoring tools that are time tested and tailored for the solution so that we can really pinpoint where issues are happening with the solution very quickly and very precisely. And this allows us to perform remediation on the solution and minimize the amount of data or time span that remains unprotected for production data. And this ultimately in the long term maximizes your return on investment for the solution because you are going to be maximizing the amount that you're protected. But to do all this, it requires intimate knowledge of the solution and knowing the purpose of all of its moving parts. And you can imagine there's many moving parts to accomplish what we're setting out to do with the solution. Our operations is also tied directly with our clients' technology team, their in-house team. And this is because we really believe in partnership in managed services and that the connections between our organizations at that organization level are just as important as any replication job that you can set up or any point-to-point circuit that you can set up between the two organizations and the two infrastructures. When there's security events that need investigation, we work very closely with the client's teams to make sure that they're aware of it and that those events are remediated according to our client's security policies. Just to touch back on the high security environment, we have, so our ethical hackers have really hardened this solution with the intention of preserving the integrity of your data for years to come. But at the end of the day, it's not much good spending money on militarized defense in depth infrastructure if it isn't maintained and defended. So part of the solution are the services that we provide on a daily basis to man the walls, so to speak, that we are looking out for any threats that approach the infrastructure and approach the solution. And having eyes on glass doing that every day really allows us to adapt, if necessary, the solution to new and evolving threats. And that way that you can, again, preserve that ROI long term. And one really big advantage that MSI has in supporting the solution and defending the solution is the fact that we have multiple practices in-house. So we have our hybrid IT practice, we have managed services, the practice I'm a member of, we have security operations practice in-house, as well as others. So we can draw upon all of that expertise and really leverage that to protect our clients much more effectively than if we only had one or two of those practices at our availability. So, and it also means that if there are incidents, then we can hit the ground running. We don't have to brief an outside security firm or security forensics firm as to how the solution works, what all the moving parts are. Our personnel are going to be already up to date. They're going to have the knowledge of how the solution works. They're going to know all the nooks and crannies so that that time to resolution and that risk and exposure is really minimized. So I'd like to also stop at the last stop in our journey for the data vault, which is the vault itself. And this, we hope with this solution, we hope the data is never used. It's like insurance. You buy insurance, you hope you never have an accident, you hope you never have a reason to use it. But the fact that it's there provides incredible peace of mind. And and in the event that we do have our clients, that they do have a need to extract data from the vault, perhaps in the event of a security event, or just because they have a need for a copy of that data to compare to, There's several reasons you might want data from the vault because it's been preserved in a cold, dark place, as Ron mentioned earlier. So part of managed services role in the solution is to really be there to provide this data to the client when it's needed for whatever reason, whether it's to get your business back up and running or for those other reasons I touched on. So that concludes the tour that me and Ron had to give you today. We very much appreciate your time. We know it's valuable. So if you'd like to know more, please fill out the contact form on this website, and we'll be happy to connect you with one of our subject matter experts. Again, thank you.